Why not?
Talk about.
Why not talk about? Talk about happiness. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the third episode of Why Not, a casual conversation among friends who are naturally curious about everything going on around the world. They never claim to be experts, but they do their research and when need be, call in a professional. Today, it's not the professionals, though. It's just little me with little Nari and little Isaac.
Hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing today?
I feel good.
Yeah?
Yes.
Would you say you feel happy?
Ding, ding, ding. I love it. Yes. Actually, I had a big gulp of a coffee just like right before.
Yeah.
Feels good.
Feels
I know.
good?
Yeah.
Does that spark joy?
It does. Just a little bit.
You know, the problem with today's discussion topic is that at first glance, it's so abstract and unattainable and fleeting even. It was a little bit difficult for me to narrow it down.
For me, it was like the exact opposite the first glance. I was like, oh, this is something that we could definitely talk about. But the more you delve into it, happiness. It is.
Yeah. It gets serious real quick.
Yeah.
Like real fast.
It takes you places.
all of the emotional spectrum.
Yeah.
And the question was so simple, right? How do you define happiness?
Yeah.
What is happiness? When do you feel happy? These are such simple questions, right? But the rabbit hole is dark and deep. All right, guys, so we did have to narrow it down. So what is like the all-encompassing question that we want to cover today? How do you define, and at least try to, measure something as subjective as happiness?
Arirang Radio.
Happiness is watching my favorite movie snuggled under a warm blanket on a cold day while sipping on hot chocolate with marshmallows.
Happiness is to be happy and seeing a cute dog.
Happiness is sleep after a long, hard day.
Happiness is when you lie in bed at the end of the day, knowing that your today was better than yesterday.
Happiness is the amount of warm feelings I feel daily, and I think it especially comes from family and friends, and also a sense of fulfillment from what I'm doing.
Happiness is lunch with an old friend.
I think that in life we are not happy because of what we can have, but with what we can appreciate. So because there is so many things in our life that we can enjoy and appreciate, and we just need to be conscious of that rather than be looking for endless things. So just be grateful, and I think that's happiness. That's all.
I mean, the question was so simple. How do you define happiness? And the answers were kind of diverse. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Did you identify with any of those answers?
All of them, I think.
Right?
Yeah. You know, but also like it reminded me of like certain moments in my life, like when I heard the baby's voice and then heard the adult's voice, and then just like every like milestone or moment in my life, happiness was different. And it like I could feel that in like just hearing the people talk about happiness, and it reminded me like, yeah, like when I was a kid, you know, and when I'm on a college or teenager, and then an adult, and then all this stuff. So
how you experience happiness alters, right? Isn't that the whole premise of that movie, Inside Out, right? Our definition of joy could be really simple or maybe basic, but it could be expanded into something really sad turning into a moment of glee, right? It's pretty complex if you think about it.
It's so hard. The more I look at like this outline that Lina, prepared for us, the more I fall into this really, really deep rabbit hole, because I'm like, well, happiness is like, what makes me happy? And then I'm like, is it just stuff that makes me not unhappy? You know what I mean? Like, is it stuff? Yeah. So you keep on like, what does it mean? Like trying to define the word happiness. And then I'm like, well, I like to say that like when I'm happy, I like to say I'm content or satisfied.
Oh.
So is that what
Yeah,
I want to call happiness.
Some people say like when they're full, right? Content and satisfied when it comes to like every day if you're full with food. Some people, that is being happy.
Yeah.
For some people.
Everything we're throwing around, I think that one of the biggest confusion is even in the very basic definition, the dictionary definition of happiness, it says state of pleasure or contentment. And those are two very different things if you think about it, right? A moment of glee, like, running into a puppy. That's probably glee, right? It's not mindfulness.
Is that why like doggy pictures and cat pictures are so popular on the internet?
Yes. Yes.
Definitely.
Because can you imagine a day where there is an entire outlet, a news outlet that says, dogs, how cute are they? That's like your major headline. Everyone would eat that up.
Yeah, and food too, because that's what kind of feeds your happy soul in the belly region.
Do you think that's why mukbangs are so popular?
Oh.
Vicariously living off of, someone else getting full?
I'm not sure about the mukbangs, but it just a thought just struck me. That's why I take pictures of my food. I think that's even, just sometimes when I look, like I just see I have food, right? And I'm like, I don't post them on social media, but I just have the pictures and taking the photo, just kind of, there's a little bit of like being full or being happy because of it, maybe.
And I also think it's really important that I document things too when I travel. And I don't necessarily upload them anywhere. I don't really care much for updating my social media all the time. But like you said, it's just whenever there's like a reminder that pops up on my phone, it's like,
that's
ooh,
nice.
It's nice.
Yeah, from like a couple years back. And you're just like, wow.
Yeah, my life, not too shabby. And when you're having like the worst of days and it's kind of serendipitous for your phone to remind you, last year around this time, you were in...
Yeah.
Well, last year I wasn't anywhere, but 4 years ago today,
exactly,
you were in Florence. Like, that's nice, right? Yeah. Okay, so we can go on and on about how we define happiness, right? So I wanted to put a different spin on maybe the next question. Do you think where you're born, the geography, the people you're surrounded by, and your personal experiences, do you think that upbringing influences your perspective on happiness?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah? Like, there's no questioning, like, no, there is a general rule of thumb on how to define happiness, no?
Like, I think you could say there is a general rule of thumb.
Yeah?
I think I would say, kind of like what you said about when you do things so that you'll be less not happy. So, like, I think the general rule of thumb is being not unhappy is the general thing. So like if you're stressed out or if you're like some people, food might not be what makes them happy.
Sure.
Money might not be what makes you happy. But like some people, it's just not worrying, I think in general is part of like that, whether it's glee or contentment, just kind of not being stressed, not being worried might be the overall kind of universal aspect.
Okay. But I guess what we're trying to say is because there's extensive studies on whether you're born in, just to generalize a bit, a Western country as opposed to an Asian country, and how you define happiness could be different. So there was a study conducted apparently back in 2012. So it's been a few years, so maybe things have changed knowing how things go these days. But 2 Japanese scholars actually looked at cultural differences in the definition of happiness between Western and Asian cultures. So what they found was in the West, most people defined happiness to be defined as a high arousal state, such as excitement and a sense of personal achievement. So maybe there is a direct link to what you achieve. Maybe you excel in school or at work, and it's about those accomplishments. Meanwhile, in Asia, again, just to generalize a bit, happiness is rather defined in terms of experiencing a low arousal state, such as calmness. So we go back to that mindfulness definition.
Peace.
A sense of peace, a sense of unity, maybe.
And contentment.
Yeah.
You know, it is. And at first, when you posed this question, I was thinking it definitely your cultural background, where you grew up, that really does define how your, like what you think makes you happy. But I also agree with Isaac. There is kind of a universal, there's that feeling where you get like this, I don't know how to describe it, but like this warmth, this warmness in your belly, kind of in your, you know, when you feel just like sad. I keep on using the same words, but I think that doesn't change where you grow up. Like, I don't think just because you grew up in like the US, like your happiness is you don't get that warmth in your belly, that internal smile. When you may not be showing it, but in your brain you see yourself smiling. I don't think that changes depending on your background.
Maybe it's the month of December or how I pose a question to people that I work with or people I came across in that initial interview. It's, I think most people are inclined to give me more simple answers, right? And it was definitely about that warmth you talked about, a feeling that you get, contentment. But it was not so much about personal achievement, money, making big things happen. I just thought it was interesting. Maybe the study itself is flawed too.
For me, just for myself, I think when I was thinking about the word happiness, what defines happiness for me, personal achievement definitely makes a huge difference. But I don't know, I was thinking pursuit of knowledge, pursuit of things that are unknown, things that I'm interested in.
Learning and self-improvement?
Yeah, that
sense of accomplishment, maybe?
Yeah, I think that is a big part of it, but I don't know if I'd go with the high arousal state, such as excitement and a sense of personal, I don't know, maybe it is this is a generalization.
No. Of course.
I do, I don't get a high arousal state. I'm more the low arousal state, such as calmness. But that personal achievement, that definitely comes in play for me.
Maybe it's just the wording of this, because maybe we're essentially talking about the exact same thing. And these studies, there are overlapping elements, as you've said, because there are universal themes. Again, the study is a generalization just to better understand that, there are different measuring sticks in each country and society, what you're exposed to. For example, if I didn't have food on my table, I can't see myself being content or happy.
Yeah.
So I can't compare myself to someone who literally needs to fight daily to put food on the table, right?
Someone I asked this question to, they said, isn't happiness a novelty? And I'm like, what? Ooh. That takes us way too, that again takes us to a whole different place because just him saying that, then I felt really guilty, and I'm like, but I shouldn't feel that way.
No, of course
maybe
not.
he's using the word happy, like that high arousal state, such as excitement and sense of personal achievement.
Maybe.
So because if it's something that's an emotion, just a simple emotional thing, then it might be a novelty. You're happy 1 minute, and then you're just down and normal, right? Maybe that's the way he was thinking it also. Is he from North America? I don't know.
No, he's not. But, that kind of made me think. And I don't like it when people say oh, well, even if you had a crappy day, other people are having really bad days, much worse than you. And I'm like, but that's not me. I am just talking about myself. I'm not comparing myself to all those people who are having really, really horrible days. I feel for them, I do.
Yeah.
But when I express my feelings, those are just compared to my feelings and myself and my other feelings within myself.
I'm not a big fan of dismissing how someone feels just to make a point about the grand we can always go there.
Right.
Be grateful. And I think that's a really, a good kind of heart to have, but it has to come from a genuine place. If someone is, talking to you about, this sparks joy in my life, you should probably, get on the same frequency and have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
I have a big thing about, remember, Nari, we had a conversation about toxic positivity.
So wait, what's toxic? I've heard of toxic masculinity, but I don't know what's toxic positivity.
Without oversimplifying it too much, it's dismissing any kind of negative emotions like sadness or anger or anxiety and putting sort of a forceful positive spin on it, saying that, well, what you're going through, it's not that big of a deal. Perk up. Things will get better tomorrow. And you're not necessarily focusing on how that person feels right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's toxic positivity.
Yeah, or letting them kind of be in that moment for themselves.
Yeah.
You don't always have to be happy, smiley, happy, joyful,
Right.
Right. You don't have to always be that emoticon. Right?
What's really funny was when we were having this conversation on our little group chat, and all Nari did was type in happiness, and it immediately switched to this emoji of a blaring yellow smiley in our face. And we thought, that kind of irks me, because I feel like it oversimplifies a notion of happiness, that we have to be this yellow smiley, this idealistic kind of creepy looking guy.
Yeah. Besides, there are tons of different emoticons just for the smile, just with the smiley face. You know, there's the one with the teeth, there's the grin, there's the wink, there's the half grin, like there's a smirk.
Yep.
All right, guys. So I watched Emily in Paris this year, right? And I know everybody judges me. Actually, no, Nari judges me.
I don't judge you. I just didn't like it personally.
Oh, really?
And a lot of people didn't like it for really similar reasons. Like, it's the American version of the Parisian dream, if you will. It's the story's
That's not why I didn't like it.
unrealistic. Well, I mean, that's why most people didn't like it. Then why
Okay.
didn't
Why didn't you
like
like
it?
Oh no, I just didn't like it.
That's not helpful, Nari.
No, there was no reason. I'm sure it was lovely.
You didn't finish it, did you?
She didn't finish it?
I didn't
Maybe
start
that's
it.
why.
What? You
Okay,
didn't start
I started it and then I didn't like it.
Okay,
Moving on.
to each their own.
Interesting.
It doesn't bring happiness to her life. It brought happiness to mine because it was such a simple narrative. It was fun to watch. It was colorful, and we couldn't travel. And
Right.
It was kind of living vicariously off of this fictional character. I cannot highlight that enough. I'm not quite sure why we're so obsessed with the realistic depiction of these characters, right? But anyway,
Wait, who's obsessed with realistic depictions of fictional characters?
Everybody. Are you
Is that
kidding
the criticism
me?
that show got?
Yes,
Okay.
like that. It was. Well, I'm generalizing just to make my point, but critics like to poke fun at these kinds of shows. I think it's an easy target, especially if you put an American spin with a big budget and then you attach all these celebrities, including Darren Star, who's the director. It's easy for us to say like, oh, like that's a icky American in Paris, and that doesn't happen in real life. And this was
I
one
didn't
of the big
think that.
criticisms.
Total different reason.
Yeah,
than over
totally
here.
different reason.
But she didn't give me a reason.
She didn't even
Isaac.
finish it. So did you say you started it?
Did you watch it?
No, I haven't. That's why I'm asking all these
Oh,
questions
okay.
because
All
it
right.
was on my it is on my feed, right? Like
It's
when
queued
you-
up and ready to go.
when-
I mean,
when
Isaac
it's-
does love rom-coms.
Yeah, I mean it shows up as a recommendation, and I'm like, oh, what is this?
Because it's the N original series.
Yeah. So
Why are we talking about Emily in Paris?
Okay,
I guess it because it brought Lena joy or happiness,
okay. All
and
right, got it.
like
No,
we
I
want
have
to
a
learn
point.
about it. Yeah.
I have a point. Can I get to it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a weird tangent. Okay, so there's a quote that kind of struck a chord with me, and it's one of the main characters that says, "The wonderful thing about Paris is that nobody judges you for doing nothing. It's practically an art form here." And I thought that was a really interesting angle at what sparks joy for Parisians. Again, a generalization, and probably something that critics hate about the show. But do you think something like that, strolling, lounging, and doing practically nothing, could have a place in a soul light's life? Like, we're so used to being wired and busy.
Is there a term for that in French, Lena?
Flaneur.
Flaneur.
Flaneur?
Like those like plaid
I
shirt
don't-
thingies that we wear.
That's flannel, and I don't speak French, so I'm probably butchering that. Can we do a little insert of a French person doing that? Yeah, I'm going to do that later.
I've never seen a French person wear flannel. but-
Stop it.
Okay, because I guess they live it. They don't wear flannel. They live flannel.
See, this the thing is, this is why the generalization again is that people don't like Americans. Like,
I'm not American.
but are you not? Where did you grow up, Nari?
Yeah.
Which Korea?
Oh my goodness, what?
Okay, guys. So
Okay,
my question
happen?
being, this idea of kind of being wanderlust or being lost in the streets and discovering something that you didn't know existed, even though you're so light. Like, do you think that luxury exists for someone as busy as someone who's working in the city of Seoul?
Isaac?
I feel like because I haven't seen the show and I'm not familiar with the premise. But it sounds like from that perspective, like instead of the American or the Western, what was that study that you meant about the high arousal state of excitement? Yeah. It may be that whole, wandering around and just kind of chilling and being
the opposite,
content.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
That sounds like it would be more in line with what the study said about the Eastern, like in Asia.
Exactly. So,
but it's France, right? Like
exactly.
It's interesting.
So where do we draw that line of Western and Eastern anyway? And again, I go back to the 4 Asian tigers, right? I mean, these economies that that thrived in the last few decades. And the thing is, people who are working in those cities are so busy.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that they're about, moments of calmness and peace. They're very aspirational and busy. So, I am disproving the study, essentially.
Here's what I think. I think if you can do this, this is something that I always have in the back of my mind where I want to be able to do nothing, and I want to be able to. You need to be able to take that moment,
disengage.
Yeah, and I really think, like, I have a lot of respect for people who can do that. I can't.
Having leisure. Is
yeah,
that
but
part
knowing
of that?
how to
Time
enjoy
off.
that leisure
Okay.
and not waste it, because I was quarantined once because of a scare, but I'm okay, just so everyone knows. But during the move closer back to me, Isaac. So during the quarantine, I was thinking, like, I could kind of take a couple of these days just to myself, and I didn't, and I was really just freaking out while in quarantine, trying to do all this work that no one expected me to do.
Right.
Everyone was like, just take a beat.
Yeah, the quarantine is like when I remember when a lot of people were doing the 2 weeks quarantine.
Yeah.
It was like 2 weeks of like watch Netflix and chill,
I
or
couldn't
just
do that. And it wasn't because I already got a negative test, but it was kind of that safety period where you have to take a couple of days extra off. And so I know, like, I didn't have it. I didn't have COVID-19, but I couldn't just rest. So if anyone can do this,
Okay, no. So the thing is,
whatever this is, I don't know the term in French, but if you can do this, I have all my respect goes out to you.
See, Nari's idealistic definition of happiness was more in tune with that state of more calm, collectedness, and things like that. It's not the high arousal state, but the low. But in reality, because I'm sure there are moments of joy in your pursuit of your professional career, right? And so in reality, what she's getting is a lot of these high arousal states too, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We don't have an answer. That's why it's an open discussion. I didn't mean to go on so long on that topic. But there you have it. We're with your shirts off break. And then when we come back, I want to try to look from a government angle, because they have to define the terms of happiness in a much more, I think, measurable statistics usually and surveys, right?
Yeah.
So think about that. When we come back, we'll take a look at how the global community actually measures happiness.
Download the Arirang Radio app on your device for free.
It's Arirang. ARIRANG Radio.
You're listening to Why Not Happiness?
Why Not Happiness?
I'm Lina.
Isaac.
Nari.
We're never going to get that right, like ever. There's like pauses in between. But you know what? That actually sparks joy in my life.
Yes.
I like these random moments of, I don't know, unexpected fun.
Yeah.
I think that's what podcasts are designed to do, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it as much as we are. We are talking about happiness at large. But when I was first posed with this homework, I wanted to be able to attain a part of happiness that is measurable, because it's not just about personal happiness. I think it is about the state in which your country can deliver on, certain, I think, social expectations, for example, or, if you need to take time off for some reason, is there a structure and infrastructure that supports that? These things can also define the quality of your life and therefore happiness too, right? And it turns out there are two great measuring sticks for happiness. I'm sure you've heard of it. The UN-driven Happiness Index and the OECD Better Life Index. What's really kind of remarkable is that Nordic nations top both of these lists.
Okay, first of all,
who are you people that rate happiness?
Yes, what are these questions that these people are getting?
Oh, okay.
What are these questions? And also,
questions?
I would like to know why I have never been asked to do any of these surveys.
The thing is, Nari,
yes.
these are all really legitimate questions. And I
Yes.
even reached out to the UN Happiness Index. I didn't really get a clear answer because they don't normally, share the questionnaire with the public.
They don't. I searched for it.
Right. I think I didn't really get a clear answer, but I'm assuming that maybe that defeats the purpose when someone randomly gets a call and has to do this on a whim. If you calculate it, I think maybe it may turn out to be a different set of answers. I don't know. I don't have the answer.
There is one kind of interesting thing that I learned is because when I was thinking survey, you know how like statistically people would take averages of like a survey. And with the happiness surveys, like these two, like the UN index and the OECD index, the happiness index, what they do is they don't take just the average. They don't take the mean of the answers. They don't tally the mean because basically they're saying an average is like saying your head is in the oven and your feet are outside, which means your body is fine. But it's not, right? If your head is in the oven and your feet are outdoors, then you are not fine. But if you just did it by just numbers and you just did an average, then technically your body is okay.
You're right. And the thing, that's a fantastic metaphor, but did you come up with that?
No, I read it because I was having these questions like as I yelled them to you, Lina, about like who comes up with these questions, who is answering these questions, and how do they find like this average? And then I learned that it wasn't an average. They have like different kind of set of parameters where they don't take an average of all the answers. This is really intense, like the way that they kind of find out how to figure out whether you're happy.
And the thing is, they also look at stats too, like a GDP of a nation or their welfare system. And then they proceed to do like a Gallup survey on, well, how do people feel about those conditions? Like, are they satisfied with the current infrastructure? Or are they happy with, government regulations that aim to make lives easier and happier for their citizens? It's a pretty extensive process. To be honest with you, when I went into it, I wanted to like tear this apart. Like I wanted to be like, there is no basis to. No, there is basis to it. And the thing is, I'd be crazy to say that it is without some sort of important lesson. The thing is,
you're wrong, UN and OECD.
It turns out they're not, and they have a pretty reliable system, at least according to them. And we're going to take their word for it because they have a committee of people who review this, and they're all usually scholars in different fields to ensure that they're on the right track, to gauge how healthy a nation is, not just happy, right? Because they're also processed with a really, really fuzzy measurement that psychologists call subjective well-being too.
I don't even.
Do you guys know what this is?
Well, it has subjective in the title, so that helps to clarify it's not an objective.
This is where that Gallup survey comes in. So they throw these questionnaires that I could not find to a random set of people in each country, and they ask people how happy they perceive themselves to be within the boundaries of their own nation. And then they bring it all together. And what's really interesting is, contrary to most people's expectations, an objectively high standard of living does not equate to happier life. Are you actually not surprised by this?
According to
OECD and UN. Not me. OECD.
Is that because the I guess I don't want to say winners, but the people who come out happiest are, the Nordic countries. So is that what they're getting? That the Nordic countries don't really consider high standard of living as part of their happiness?
Well, they do have a high standard of living, right? They do have a lot of guarantees. For example, I think the big thing that I was looking into was, when a family has a newborn, for example, can you take a paternal or maternal leave and be guaranteed a certain amount of compensation for that so you can leave? And it's also about the societal element. Is your society ready to accept that as a norm? Because they have to go hand in hand. It's not just about government aid.
So
your
if
coworkers need to be okay with it.
So if they have that objectively high standard, how can that not equate happiness?
To a happy life, right?
Well, it reminds me of, okay, so there's other studies that I remember where there's like a plateau of happiness, right? Like you reach a certain level of financial stability, and then the more money you make doesn't naturally equate 1-to-1 with your level of happiness, right? So that's what that kind of reminds me of, like how.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, 1 point, Isaac.
0 for Nari so far, but
no,
hold on.
I think Nari's asking you all the right questions too, because these are valid questions. And the thing is, happiness is abstract. And the thing is, just because by all measurable standard a country seems to be doing well, it doesn't guarantee happiness. And that's the thing. But doesn't mean that we don't have lessons to learn from the Nordics. There are books and studies that, try to inspire different countries to maybe take a page out of these Nordic nations books. Remember when the bestseller on Hygge?
You mean hygge?
Hygge? What?
Okay, so in case you don't know.
Sorry to everyone. We are bad at
apparently
foreign languages, I guess.
Beyond Korean and English, we're clueless, so we do apologize.
Yes, it's spelled Hygge.
Ta-da!
Hygge.
These are all solid attempts, and it brings me joy. Okay, so the Dane.
J-O-Y.
What?
J-O-Y. Joy. I got that one.
Oh my god. Okay.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Hygge?
These tangents.
I'm no longer joyful.
H-Y-G-G-E.
Yes, Hygge.
Hygge. Okay, something in between. Okay, so you're keeping up, listeners, right? The Danes often describe inner harmony in terms of this. Hygge, which is something like coziness and comfortable. I think comfort is a good way to summarize it, right? It's an interesting way of talking about that low arousal state that we were talking about earlier, right? I mean, inner harmony is definitely more peaceful and mindful, in my humble opinion. But I guess my point being, can we bring that concept to Korea, put it into Seoul Light's life, and say, do the hygge? Stop laughing.
Do the hygge. Oh.
And because I think some parts of it is applicable, right? I mean, if I want to take it easy over the weekend or get build a home in a rural area so I can, look at nothingness.
Who says it has to be big?
Right.
These are those like cozy, content moments.
Yeah.
They can be moments, and that's fine. If you can find those moments, that's fine. Some people don't have the luxury of finding all this like time for just hygge.
Yeah, that's also true.
You know what I mean?
Right,
like even the little moments,
Yeah.
I think that's okay. So is it applicable? I think so. And didn't Korea go through like a whole like year or something where everyone was trying to do this, like trying to find their inner peace, that warmth, that coziness, that contentment.
Right. Before we end this portion of the segment, I do want to ask you guys, majority of South Koreans actually still, to this date, self-diagnose them to be unhappy. This is despite us doing quite well. Relatively speaking, our economy has grown by how much in the last few decades? This is always our go-to, right? From the rubbles of the aftermath of the war, modern civilization in Seoul and South Korea is monumental. And it's kind of an example for other cities and countries across the world, right? So I do wonder then, what do you think are the biggest contributors to this self-diagnosed unhappiness in Koreans?
Do you know what they are? Like, are they set, or are you like,
Can you just answer the question?
No, I wanted to know if these have been defined.
What do you mean? Why South Koreans are unhappy?
Yeah, has this been like something that's been defined by experts in?
No, by that UN-driven happiness index and OECD Better Life Index. We don't necessarily fare high.
Is it because we work too much?
That's actually a really big part of it. So even though we have
workaholics,
we do have some government regulations trying to alleviate that, right? We implemented that mandatory 52-hour work week, but people are still working overtime. They're getting paid for it, of course.
I was shocked because I'm used to thinking of a work week as a 40-hour work week. And so I was like, a 52-hour work week, like what happened? Why is...
I think
we're going the other way.
Is that an improvement? Like to me, that's like a very
It's especially hard for the three of us because we are like, still
Isaac is not necessarily
I'm trying
freelancing.
to think of my tenses here, but because we spend such a long time being freelancers, so maybe that we don't understand exactly what that means, a 52-hour work week, a 40-hour work week.
I mean, just objectively seems long.
It does. But then again, I'm thinking, well, I'm a freelancer, which means I'm always working since I don't know how to balance. But yeah, I mean, self-diagnosed as unhappy is money part of it?
Money's a big part of it.
Yeah, I imagine money being a huge
We
part
talk
of that.
about unaffordable housing, and yet we're all inclined to move to Seoul City to work, to make a living, to build a family in this very, very increasingly crowded city, right? And I talk about, this isn't done by a study, it's just my observation, a pace of a city. And when it is this dense and people are this overworked and intense perhaps, there is no room for breather in this city, despite us having a beautiful river in the center of the city. Like, you know, the pace of it is real fast all the time. And I don't think that helps with our happiness index. Agreed? Beg to disagree?
Nadi's thinking.
No, I mean, there's a reason that a lot of like people, international, you know, people who come into Korea, one of the first words they learn is 빨리, right? Fast, quickly. Like, there's a reason for that. Everything moves at a fast pace. Everything goes really quickly. And about the breather part, it took me a moment just because after having moved closer to, right onto the Hangang River, and now I do try to take moments where I just go out, walk by the river, try to take a moment to myself. Okay. So I'm trying because, as I said earlier, like I really want to be able to find that spot that place in my life where I'm not always having to feel like I have to work. No one is putting that pressure on me. I put it on myself.
I think it's a lot of times self-imposed too, right?
Yeah,
definitely.
But with the end goal of trying to buy a house and things like that, these demands that are not easily met in a city like Seoul, where housing is impossible, right? The thing is, based on at least local surveys, several that I've read, a lot of people do generally define happiness equals money equals success. So it's not as if that whole element of peace and calmness does not exist. They coexist. So ideally, we want to head back in that direction of peace by the Han River. But the reality that's right in front of us is we have to succeed in our careers to make more money, to bring a sense of peace.
That might be the difference between like the Danish culture or the Nordic culture and like Korea, you know?
Yeah.
Because that is like a universal truth for Korean society. Whereas I'm pretty sure like the Nordic countries would probably disagree with that framing of success and meaning equal to happiness,
But from what little I understand, a lot of these Nordic nations, majority of them, do require their citizens to pay a relatively high tax, which means that with that tax money, they have a more trustable, a more better, some might even say, infrastructure to support its citizens to, again, take things like paternal leave and be guaranteed a certain amount of cushion when things don't go your way, or be able to afford a house. But anyway.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Well, what are we doing? What is the government doing for us in Korea then? Because, if that's happening over there, and so they do have that kind of support, right?
Yeah.
So then what about Korea? And are we getting that same kind of support? What are we getting? Like, how much of it are we getting? I would love to hear about it.
All right. So we want to talk about, can regulations actually help this unhappiness matter at hand?
This is Arirang Radio.
South Korea continues to see its population decline. Last year, the number of births and the total fertility rate both fell to all-time lows. That shrinking of the population predates the pandemic, but social distancing is said to have exacerbated it. Also, data...
Compared to 2 decades ago, the number of marriages in Seoul City has almost halved. The birth rate has also declined some 64% in the same period. Now that's according to...
Online classes also meant more disparity in education. From elementary schools to high schools, students in the lowest income bracket saw twice as much disruption as other students due to technical issues with their digital devices.
Statistics Korea study why the country is the only one of the 37 OECD members with a birth rate below 1. Last year, it stood at 0.84. The agency conducted a survey of young adults and compared it with demographic data. It found that many young adults are doubtful about marriage because they're individualistic and are focused more on the present than the past or the future. Also, a factor has been a difficult job market in recent years and soaring home prices and education costs.
We're back discussing Why Not Happiness. But that was really dark, don't you think? The headlines. It paints a pretty bleak picture of being a Soulite, trying to make it.
Yeah. Thanks, Lena, for that.
No, we're
so
trying
it's
to...
kind of like, why not happiness instead of why not happiness? It's like, I'm like, oh, why not happy?
Yeah, because on a personal level, I'm all about, reframing to ensure that I can reach my personal best to put a, not just positive spin, but, make everything a learning experience for growth. But that's not the point. Like, we're talking about government interventions and things that the government should and can do to make circumstances better for people so we can address social issues being the key word, like education gap, the wealth gap. These are all exacerbated during the pandemic. It was always there, but it's so much worse now. And the expectation was the pandemic was supposed to be a great equalizer in the education sector. It's not.
Interesting.
Right?
I would have never, never thought the pandemic would have been an
equalizer for the education. But the thing is, we're a really well-connected country, which meant that, most majority of people would have access to the internet and computers and these devices to, be educated with all the materials. But
yeah, we were on the lucky end.
Yeah, in that discussion. So people were maybe not all experts were agreeing that it would be the equalizer, but expectations were there. Like maybe this could address our problem with too much spending on private education. It didn't.
Oh, I see.
It made it so much worse. And students that come from, less of a sturdy financial background suffered a great deal. They couldn't afford to go to like 20 KWONs, for example. Yeah, but anyway, all of this to raise questions about what is the role of the government then to intervene at the right time to provide more for its citizens, and are they actually successful? Let's talk about affordable housing, because that's probably one of the biggest issues that came up during the pandemic. Young people are trying to collect money they did not have. They borrowed money from the bank because interest rates were low, and they bought a house that literally they could not afford. And the thing is, then the next solution being proposed by different ends of the government is, should we then have more cheap rentals for young people or couples, or should we keep these borrowing costs low so that people can, spend money they don't have to buy a house?
They can talk all they want. It's just, the reality is, it's not affordable. Yeah. And it hasn't been for a really long time. And once again, I'm not speaking for everyone out there. Yeah. But even like a decade back, it still wasn't affordable, which is when people started, like the younger generation, everyone started spending money on cars, getting their own car. That was the first thing they would buy because they didn't have money to get a house.
Isn't that a thing, like car poor, like a Korean thing that
and
we say?
House poor.
House poor.
Is it house poor or home poor?
I don't know. Take your pick.
or just poor.
Yeah. Or
this is heartbreaking.
Just poor,
I'm not happy, Isaac.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why this is so difficult. I know we're always building. And Korea gets apartments up so fast like that. We're so good at building.
Right.
And has it become more affordable? I don't. I haven't tried to buy a house recently, but the news headlines, they're all saying no.
It's not becoming. Yeah. It's actually the other way.
And even like getting a loan, even if you were to get,
right.
I coming from the States, I think of it like, in America, if you want to get a house, the bank usually will approve a loan for your mortgage. Although nowadays it's not as easy as like back in the 2007 and 6s, but it's still like a kind of a reasonable or manageable achievement to, if you have a job and get a mortgage. Putting down, 10, 20%, but in Korea, I feel
because they have a mortgage plan. That's a pretty inherent, I think, American system. Korea doesn't have the same system.
Right. And I hear that, getting a loan for an apartment, like there's all these restrictions, right? Like the house can't be more than this much. And then you can only get like 40 or 60 or, you know, like basically like half of it can be financed, but then the rest of it you can't.
Right.
So like, how is it even possible? Like, to me, it's bizarre, you know, like
Like,
it just
how
seems
is that
impossible.
making it easier?
You know, we can go on and on about the regulations as far as trying to alleviate that housing bubble goes, because there were dozens and none of them are necessarily touted as successful because it's a complicated issue, but it does come down to supply and demand. There's just simply too many people wanting to live in the same exact neighborhoods in a city like Seoul because work takes us here, for example, or extended family lives here. And in order for me to work, I need my mom to take care of my things like this. These are all logistics, right? And I heard an expert on just real estate regulations chime in saying that people need to just move away from Seoul for us to attain.
That's what's happening.
For us to attain happiness long way down the road. Yeah.
Everyone's moving out. And then
but like, even like Gyeonggi-do, like that's so
Right.
expensive. Like
that's the thing.
it's like
about,
Seoul already, you know?
Right.
How far do you have to go?
At least the outskirts of Gyeonggi-do, closest enough to Seoul. Yeah, it's unaffordable. You're right.
Well, I mean, people say Seoul, but I'm thinking like all of like, you know, this entire,
the greater capital region, right?
Wherever the subway goes, like
Right,
it's pretty
right.
much like expensive.
Yeah.
At least based on the experts that I saw, it's not even about that. It's about moving much further, finding a different city, and making sure that different cities also have the same fighting chance. The thing is, all of our hubs are in Seoul City.
Yeah, then your job is connected.
Exactly.
And family, obviously.
There's a reason why much more than half of the population lives in Seoul City, right?
Yeah. Well, what if it isn't housing or having like an affordable house, having a roof over your head? What if that isn't part of your happiness quotient, right? What if it's like family? You know, what is happening there? I can tell you from personal experience, if you're unmarried and, you know, single in Korea, then I thought the government was supposed to help you achieve, you know, like have a family to kind of like help sustain and, you know, kind of like, and if you're single, okay, so once you're married, there are so many incentives that you get.
But I'm going to ask a question to Isaac in just a moment about those incentives, because I think it's an entirely different question when we say, are those incentives enough?
Well, I'm sure they're not. But if you're single and not like I'm not planning on getting married, but if you're single and kind of not there yet,
right?
There is there are really zero incentives.
Like, what do we get? What do NARI? What does NARI and I get as opposed to Isaac, who has a family? Right. That's actually a really good point, because maybe we need to flip that question on its head. Like, we know that the birth rate is declining. We know that women, especially highly educated women in Korea, are getting married later. Those are the statistics. And that's not a statistics that's just unique to Korea. It's happening into most developed cities across the world, right? So we have the diagnosis, but the approach has been kind of similar for the last few years I've been in Korea. Kind of throw money and government incentives for people to have their own family, which is a great thing. Don't get me wrong.
It's a good idea. But in practice, like it's not really significant enough to be like, you know, okay, this is going to make me get married or this is going to make me, you know, have a kid.
You know, I do wonder, because going back to those Nordic nations, what they do really well is, for example, in Finland, they send you a box of baby goods when you have your first child. And they're actually really goods that new parents of newborns would love. Like, they're practical items, like clothing, really well-made clothing, and there's hefty government incentives to pay for your bills on a monthly basis. That's
right. That continuation thing, I think, is probably more important
than one time. Look at this giant check, right? You want a regular check that goes on for maybe
that'll really
years.
Help with, you know, raising the child and
I mean, these are all valid points, right? We know that the government is helping and they're trying to make it better, but again, going back to our basic question, does it help with the general happiness of South Koreans? We're gathering that it's not enough, right?
Yeah, I think even just the conversation, just having it having it brought up into a conversation, the whole thing with like work-life balance, right? 워라밸 in Korean. This was like, people talk about it so much. It's not really, is it really happening? I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not for me.
I never heard of 워라밸. Yeah.
Sure.
I think it's good to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's needed, but I feel like many people in Korea, like that's like a pipe dream that they'll never, have balance between work and life.
Some of the hurdles that countries that have been trying to implement let's say shorter work weeks or shorter work hours. I noticed that like some of the problems they ran into was that with shorter work hours, like people were getting even like a little bit more agitated, a little bit more anxious because they're like, what do I do with this extra time? And that's me. Okay. They're like, what do I do with this extra time? And then it made them question that question, what makes me happy? And that's kind of
a vicious cycle.
I would have thought if you had more, I mean, they trimming down your work hours, but then the boss not trimming down your workload is what would give you a lot of stress. But that's interesting.
But
I feel like NARI is an outlier.
Out of an 8 to 9 hour like work day, right?
Yeah.
And these like shorter, let's say like 4 hour work days, okay, or 4-day work weeks.
4-day
like
work
all of this
week,
stuff. It comes under the premise that out of the 8 hours that you're working, you only are productive for like 5 or 4.
Right.
So you get the same workload, but if you have shorter work days, they're thinking that you'll just be more productive once you get there.
Yeah.
But first, like I said, the initial like kind of hurdles, the problems they were running into was that people were like, they were going into like personal like identity crises, like what do I do? Like what does make me happy enough to fill those gaps? And then besides that, a lot of people were leaving the company because once they found they're happy, they're like, oh, I want to go spend my time on my happy. Yeah. And then the third problem was that spending less time at work meant less
camaraderie.
Yes, I can say that word, camaraderie. And
this is good camaraderie and good teamwork.
Yes. And there was, they didn't feel that team spirit.
That's actually a really good point because the thing is, how do you become a team? Unfortunately, you do have to spend a great deal of time with your coworkers.
It's hard to do without that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we tried this year with the whole Zoom meetings, which was fantastic, don't get me wrong. And I feel like more meetings should be Zoom meetings, but
all of them.
I mean, there is so much to work and there is so much to school than just learning and just working and just making money and things like that, right? All right, guys, we can go on and on about this. And I don't like feeling helpless. And as far as government regulations can go, of course, we can vote for the politician that supports your belief systems and how you define happiness. But government aid is only a fraction of the happiness solution. Sometimes it is about reframing what is presented to you because feeling miserable every day based on headlines just sounds insane to me. So I just want to end on a high note. It is December 25th after all. Have you guys, you guys have lived, like really lived, I know. So any helpful tips you've acquired in your personal search for happiness? And then there were crickets and silence, and we're all doomed to never find happiness. Thanks, guys.
This question really stumped me. It made me think of this book. So Tuesdays with Morrie, I'm sure everyone's heard of it, right? It came out like late 90s, and it was about this sports columnist who learned that one of his old professors, sociology professors, Morrie Schwartz, was dying of ALS. So he would go once a week on Tuesdays. Yeah, and they would talk about life, about like just Morrie's, like Morrie would kind of imbue wisdom and he'd talk about his life experiences. And a good thing, from there, I remember thinking like one of the happiness, I guess, lessons I took away from it was like, don't regret. Like, don't regret. Like, don't regret the things that you have done, haven't done, or should have done. And live every day like it's your last, without making it, don't take it at like in a morbid way.
Right.
But I think like, that's why I can't diet, because I'm like, if I go tomorrow, I would like to go knowing that I ate everything that I wanted to today.
So I think NARI, food is like Nari mentioned belly a couple of times. So
food is really important
food
to
is,
me.
We've discovered for what is your happiness?
Yeah, I think my happiness is like, it's like feeding my belly.
Yeah.
Feeding
Get
your
in my
belly.
belly. It's about feeding my physical, being,
That's
also
awesome.
my soul, my spirit. I think trying to do everything that you want to do, but also stuff that maybe you don't want to do with like a kind of healthy mix of humility, humor, and I wrote this down. Selfishness.
Are you sure Isaac didn't write it down? It's funny because it looks like she's
compassion.
cheating. What?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I lost you. Humility,
so with
humor.
a healthy mix of humility, humor, selfishness, and compassion.
Oh, I like that.
Because I think you really do need to be selfish to make sure, if you want to make people around you happy, you got to be happy first, right?
Yeah.
So
I love that.
yeah, and I don't think, I think every day should be spent like doing what you want to do, but also things that you don't want to do. I think happiness is not about always being in that positive state, but there's got to be that negative. If you're from California and you've never seen snow, Southern Californians, I like having 4 seasons.
So much hate towards Southern California.
Southern California has snow, right? Like,
I know.
You can go to the beach
know.
and then like go to the mountain. You can surf and then you can snowboard in the same day.
Yes. Okay. So I
great.
like having that kind of the
Balance?
extremes,
Okay.
right?
The extremes.
So I don't like it always to be hot and sunny and nice and beautiful. I like that thunder, that grayness, that darkness, because it makes you appreciate.
Yeah. If great things lasted forever, these moments of glee lasted forever, would we even be able to appreciate those?
You wouldn't even know or realize.
It's like the yin and the yang, and if you don't have those perspective shifts, it doesn't really highlight the good parts as good, does it? And so I wholeheartedly agree. It's not just about YOLO. And I absolutely agree on being selfish. I go to Nari and Isaac about this all the time. Like, there are these energy vampires in my life making me miserable, and they always give me the same set of advice. Take time for yourself, like step away from the energy vampires. And I think it's hard for me to do that, to be selfish, because it feels selfish, right?
Yeah.
And that feels counterintuitive in your pursuit of happiness. But I think that's also really important, right? Taking time for yourself.
Yeah. What is your happiness, Isaac?
Food.
I like food. I like food.
Southern California.
I like tacos. I like all foods. So
me too.
Food is not my happiness though. I think most people might think that just because if you've ever had a meal with me, you'll know like it just it brightens my day.
Yes.
I love to eat, but I think for after all the stuff that we talked about today, I think happiness is about trying to reduce the unhappiness in your life.
Yes.
I think because it's so subjective, right? Like, some people, Nari, you said like, you enjoy, you get happy when you eat. Like my wife, she like looks at me when I eat and she's like, dang, I wish I could be happy eating, but because food doesn't make her happy.
Some people
are like that.
For sustenance.
Yeah.
I'm actually more there than with you guys. I like food, but just not as much as Nari or Isaac. Yeah.
So people are, subjective. It's subjective, right?
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I think that might be kind of more universal is, and the way I like to think about happiness is, reducing the negativity in your life, reducing the stress. So instead of trying to find that silver bullet to what's going to make me happy. Life is hard. There's all these struggles and hardships, but taking a moment to identify them and then slowly eliminate. If you could cut it out, great. But if you can't, then maybe just cut down a little bit.
Lessen the degree of exposure to what makes you kind of, upset, sad, and things like that.
Yeah.
Which is also hard, but more attainable than trying to achieve the happy.
Because some people it's money, right? Oh, I wish I had that 6-figure salary. If you a lot of people, those studies about like, North America and like all the salary stuff is like, when you get to that point, you just find out that you're not really, it's still not, you're not happy. It never ends. So I think definitely it's not just one thing, but more like reducing the level of unhappiness.
I feel like we could do like a 6-part series on happiness, don't you think? Yeah. The thing is, I think it's wonderful that we got a chance to talk about happiness because I think it is something we need to prioritize going into the new year. That is your pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
And don't be swayed by what other people tell you, including us, right? I mean, find your happy place.
Yeah, on this December 25th.
Happy holidays, everyone!
Merry Christmas!
We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Why Not? Money, money, money. Money. See you tomorrow, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.